What's the biggest issue facing Australian retailers today?
I look at my brand in isolation, really, and try to sort of separate myself from the entire industry. How do I create the best holistic experience for my brand so that when people come in, they don't have to buy a shoe, but still experience the brand itself?
Vince Lebon is a multi-award-winning designer, founder, and CEO of Rollie Nation, known for collaborating with major brands like Adidas and designing for celebrities such as Macklemore and Ashley Graham. Rollie launched in 2012 and is sold in over 500 stores across 11 countries. So if you ever find yourself in that state where it's the opposite of flow, what do you do to get yourself back out of that?
What I've worked out is that you've got to start from yourself because that gives energy to everything else. Create a space for positivity to show itself and to have the passion and conviction to get back to the shit that I do best. I think it's just about what serves you, what gives you energy, and when going back into flow, does it give you energy or does it take energy? Simple as that.
One finds themselves in a situation where they're there, and it's like, why am I continuing on this? Why do you think you're continuing to build this global brand?
Don't forget why I got into this. Don't forget to work on my creativity because that fuels everything. I want to have the creative freedom to be able to do whatever the fuck I want. What drives me is just doing awesome work. I want to do cool shit with cool people. It's not, the shoes are not important. It's what you do in the shoes that matter.
I think that's really magic. Vince Lebon, welcome to Flow Zone.
Thanks, mate. Happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Vince, I came to know your product before I came to know your company.
Really?
And before I came to know you. Okay. I've been coming down to Melbourne for a while and ended up finding ourselves in Fitzroy as our chosen place to live, full of creativity and Melbourne culture, looking at the city and all the live music and fashion around.
Yep.
And there's a particular street called Gertrude Street for those who are worldwide on this audience. Mm-hmm. And it's really known for this sort of high street of fashion amalgamating all of Melbourne. And then there's this store that's got these Larry shoes at the front. And I've seen them there and I'm like, I really love those shoes. I want to go and try a pair on. And then I get introduced to you at a dinner.
Yeah.
So I've already admired your products. Tell me, I'm aware that retail's not easy, but you're more aware than all of us. What's the biggest issue facing Australian retailers today?
Oh man, that's a heavy question.
Let's start with the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I look at my brand in isolation really and try to sort of separate myself from the entire industry. I'm looking at creating a brand experience. And so for me, opening up a retail store was really around how do I create the best holistic experience for my brand so that when people come in, they don't have to buy a shoe, but still experience the brand itself. You can walk out, not buy a pair of Rollies, but still be like, damn, this brand's cool. And so that's what the whole thing was about. I mean, it's fucking tough out there right now. But, you know, the store's doing well. The customer experience is awesome. We've got a great following. So I'm really proud of the store. I'm really proud.
I think there's a lot to be proud of. And just touching on that question, well, I suppose on that point around the brand experience. So what can someone experience if they've been in there that'll give them a lasting impression of the brand?
Well, when you walk in, you know, there's 17 digital screens in that store. Half of the store's got like a digital gallery. We feature about 150 designer or pieces of art from designers from around the world. And that was just a commitment to be like, let's just do something that we're really proud of, you know, let's showcase digital art. Let's make sure that we're infused in the culture. And Gertrude Street's one of the best streets for that. I mean, like he's touched on before, there's food, there's art, there's fashion. It just feels like home.
Definitely feels like home for me. I'd call Melbourne my spiritual home. I was born in New South Wales, but close to the Victorian border. But every time I set foot off the plane, I'm like, I'm home.
Yeah.
So you've said before, it is really tough out there at the moment for retailers, particularly in Australia, exporting to other parts of the world.
Yeah.
How's all this craziness been with tariffs for the Australian retail industry?
Yeah, look, it's a really tough time. And I think what makes it really challenging is like you go through moments where you're like, oh shit, things are getting back on track and it looks like things are picking up again. And then you have a couple bad weeks and it just throws everything out. And so that's really stressful. I think the tariffs have certainly had a massive effect on retail. Like we don't have a huge international business as much as we used to before. Most of it's done through distribution deals. So we haven't really felt the effects yet. A lot of my friends who are selling direct to consumer in the US are. And we were working with a celebrity agency And we've just said, hey, don't do anything yet. Let's just see what happens, because we don't really want to blow up there too quickly with all the tariff stuff that's going on. But yeah, I think the sentiment, like, you've also got to look at not just the tariffs, but there was a election year. And so every time there's an election year, things get tight, money gets tight, people are stressed. And it's certainly been stressful. I mean, I've been doing this now for 13 years, and there's probably been 3 moments of this time where it's like, oh, this is getting hard again.
Take us to one of those moments.
I mean, starting out, I think, people thought I was crazy launching a brand at, just after a GFC, you have the housing crisis. We've just had so much stuff over the years. COVID obviously was a massive one.
Yeah.
But I think COVID was tough because it was stressful, but online businesses did really well. And so we actually grew during COVID, but it certainly didn't feel that way. It felt stressful. We had no idea what was going to happen next. But it was stressful personally, but we were doing well. Whereas now it just feels like, just shit thrown at you left, right, and center. But the team rallies. Every time the team rallies together, we do really well. So it certainly allows you to look at your business and really put the right processes in place, make sure you're coaching the right people, and just build.
I totally resonate with that feeling you're talking about, where, and I'll use the same example for service industries because I advise a number and I own a number of them. And, when you're in the similar turnover bracket as your company is, that sort of, 8-figure range, 10 to 20 mil turnover, it's kind of like the missing middle. It's not the 150 mil up where there's ability to pull a few levers, and they're not easy. None of these levers are easy, but you can sort of gain back margin, or you can differentiate and go off into a direction and pivot.
Totally.
And at the very micro end of the market, you can do that too. Call it sub 3 million, where you can just go back into founder-led, almost solopreneur, and sort of just get efficiency back, even if it means a lot more output of personal effort. But this part in the middle, and it's a real challenge. In COVID, it felt like everyone was dealing with it. So it was all like, yep, we're all one here. And there was almost like a unity, even amongst competitors, that we need to press on as a society. But then post, when everyone's going through different challenges at different times in different industries, it can feel like at times that you're making progress on some sort of meter, but it's not the one that most people can see.
Yeah. 100%.
And I know inside the groups that I own or advise, one of the biggest challenges they've got is, and we've got, is that the team can't see all the progress. They know something's happening, but they're waiting to see this result in front of them, like on a different scoreboard or whatever. And then external input can come in and start flavoring people's judgments.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the importance of being united and team culture. What are you doing to sort of keep that unity, especially when you got shoulder to wheel for long periods of time like this?
I think you just got to get people on the same page, right? And really communicate what we're working towards. That's the thing. You've got to, it's all good and well to say this is what we're aiming for. We want to be a global brand, but how do you take them on the journey and show them what those smaller milestones look like, especially in volatile times like this? And so I think, for us, it's about, we created a 60-day sprint just recently. And so completely take your head out of that 1 to 3 year game strategy and go that's still, you're still working towards that, but what does that look like for the next 60 days, right? You get through that 60 days and you go, cool, what's the next quarter sprint look like? And that's certainly helped massively. It just gets everybody on the same page, really, really aligned. I think also, it allows you to stop and go, right, what are the things that are not working, right? And if it's, BAU tends to be this thing that, it's just what we always do. And it's like, well, if BAU is not moving the dial, does it need to be BAU, right?
Yeah.
So, business as usual. Is it really something that is required, or have you just gotten into this sort of, we've always done it that way, therefore we'll continue to do it that way. So I think those sprints allows you to stop and really go, right, this is what we're working towards. What are the things we need to really shift in order to do that, to push the dial? I think those sprints have happened across all those years. Where shit gets tough, and they're the things that always seem to work. I remember during COVID when they started locking everything down. we ran a sprint, a 30-day sprint for nurses because we knew nurses were still in jobs, and we got a huge, nurses. Anyone that's on their feet all day loves Rollies.
There you go. And that is part of the brand element there
absolutely.
too, right?
And so we did a campaign to frontline workers, particularly nurses, to sort of say, because we knew they were in jobs, we knew they wanted some love, and that campaign represented 92% of our sales for that month. Right now, if we had not done that campaign, we would have been absolutely, it would have been really tough. And it was like, it wasn't just, I think a lot of brands went on sale and started pushing product to people that didn't have the money or weren't in the emotional, mindset to even purchase. Whereas we took a step back and go, who are the people who really want us? And, let's serve them.
I like that. Well, you're selling at the time of greatest need, not at greatest satisfaction.
Yeah.
What I like about it even more, it's kind of like the triple bottom line thing in that you've found a purpose. Like you've got a purpose already as a footwear company, which really well aligns to what these guys and girls are doing every day.
Totally.
On their feet.
Yep.
So you are serving them by offering them something that's for them.
Yep.
And you made it all about them when they were the number one customer type.
Yep.
I picked up there, you've said that if in COVID, you shorten your sprint time to 30 days and even the 60 days is reduced from your typical 90-day quarterly sprints. Tell us about why you've shortened the cycle time.
Well, I think it's just relative to what's happening, right? So, you use tariffs as a really good example. My assumption was that tariffs would be sorted within 60 days. So to have a 90-day sprint doesn't actually make sense, right? So, what time frame makes the most sense? 30 days in this current situation, I think is a little bit too tight because by the time you get things humming, 30 days is great for there's something like COVID, right? Like everything stopped.
Yeah.
Shit, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so 30 days felt really appropriate, and we're able to get everybody like pulling into the same direction to drive an outcome. This 60-day sprint, like it's been incredible. The results that we've seen, we've hit. We reforecasted, but we re-hit all our targets, which is unreal. Not just the actual forecast, but the ones that we originally intended.
Whoa.
And that wouldn't have happened if we didn't create a safe space for the team to go, we know it's tough, we'll reforecast, but let's not aim for that. Let's aim for what we originally intended.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because right now, I think, as you go through some tough times, sometimes you've got to look at where's the real problem. Is it a profitability problem, or is it a cash flow problem? Or is it a trending momentum, or lack of momentum problem? You've got to really identify what it is and then identify what is the way to fix it.
So what's one of the things you've identified to stop doing?
In this 60-day sprint?
Yeah, because your stop, start, continue is kind of a bit of a theme we've talked about.
Yeah, totally. Look, in the 60-day sprint, there are lots of things, but it's really about rallying everyone together.
Yeah.
And so, an example is, we gift out to a lot of influencers based on certain products, but we're like, let's stop doing that. Let's pull all our marketing team towards focusing on short-term sales.
Yeah.
We had Click Frenzy just come up, so we put all that effort into warming up the audience before Click Frenzy happened.
Yeah.
Right, instead of waiting for Click Frenzy and then just running PPC ads. Now, we do that already, but we completely reshifted our focus in doing that. Also, when it comes to, accounts receivable, pushing that a bit further down, getting money a bit quicker in.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, it takes the pressure off, right? Even though they're on the books and you'll get paid eventually. If you can say, hey, guys, anyone that's in 90 days, they have to pay up, and you start pushing that forward.
Yeah.
Everyone gets into this mode of, it's game time.
Yeah.
And then... it's just incredible. It's incredible how quickly everyone can rally together when they're all working towards something. And I think 90 days is a long time. Right?
Yeah. So
I think the 60 days for us in this current environment, 60 days absolutely works perfectly.
Yeah, I think that's actually brilliant. And it's just conjuring up in my mind, there's another group in our portfolio through the venture capital I'm involved in, and 90 days for their particular style of transformation is usually required, especially if they're bringing in a new program or a new differentiated strategy. That the first 30 days is really getting everyone familiar with it. Totally. Because the ELT, the leadership teams, come up with it. Yep. And then they get it to the managers, and then they kind of got their head around it as well, even if they got it on week one. But if you look at what you're actually using in that quarter, like it's less of the quarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that has just popped into my mind as you've been talking about it, getting everyone united and behind a rallying cry, behind a sort of number or an emphasis.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful when you hear it on these podcasts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops out there. You're in a retail business, right?
Yeah,
You're obviously doing distribution and wholesaling as well, but you do have retail stores, bricks and mortar, now South Melbourne as well as the OG Fitzroy store. And I imagine some people in retail, like they haven't necessarily assigned retail as their career just yet, sort of like you see in hospitality sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep the people passionate that have been with you like, less than a year or two and they're in a sector where it's usually got a fairly short attention span already?
Yeah. I think you could just look at, who's really going to move the dial, right? And there might be some people in the retail store that their efforts are not going to actually be leading towards that 60-day sprint that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't need to necessarily engage them to a full extent. They need to understand what's happening so that, because it might impact marketing or finance or ops. But I think it's really about drawing in the right players. So, I think of it as like, a bit of a basketball team, right? Like if everyone's working towards the same goal, you're leading on your starting five, but, role players need to know exactly what you need of them to come in and to sort of take the pressure off, your main guys. And then management needs to, keep them locked in and, not getting them distracted. Just trying to remove the noise so that everyone's working towards the same goal is the key.
I really like the basketball analogies, and one of the superstars that you've worked with is James Harden.
Yeah.
Now, literally, this is a complete coincidence. I'm wearing a pair of Hardens.
I know, how crazy.
At the moment, and you did the edition before these, which were red hot.
Yeah, she is.
What was it like working with an international NBA player like? He's one of the all-time. He's in a big list.
Yeah.
He's in a very important list. What was it like working with James Harden?
Oh, it was a dream come true, man. It was unbelievable. I mean, he was MVP at the NBA that year.
Yeah. Wow. The same year as well. In your shoe.
Yeah. So
oh my God.
It was epic. And so I think it took me back to, being a kid growing up playing basketball and Jordans were everything growing up. And to be able to fast forward, to be able to win a scholarship, fly over to the States and work with the creative director of the Jordan brand on this product with Adidas on a TV show. It was just bizarre. It was just the wildest thing ever. And I think by the time I realized we were doing the James Harden shoe, it was the finale actually of the TV show that I was a part of.
Yeah.
So I'd already built, the mindset of cool, I'm working with celebrities, I'm working with athletes, but James Harden hit differently. Because it was like, he's going to be playing in this shoe. It's the finale. It's going to market. Whereas a lot of the other shoes were really just ideation, concepting. We were gifting the celebrities the shoes.
Yeah.
But this one was going to market with Adidas. So that was crazy.
That is more than crazy. Now we share something other than NBA in common, and is that just our love for having creativity in our lives.
Yeah.
What role does creativity play in your life?
Oh man, it's everything for me. Creativity it's what drives me. When I wake up, each morning, it's tough because the business is big enough. It's big where it's not big. It's not so big that it's like a massive business, but it's not small either, right? And so I've got to, we've got about 40 staff, including the retail space. So you got to keep these guys employed and. Sometimes you feel like you're selling your soul a little bit creatively. And so every now and then I just have to stop and be like, no, I don't forget why I got into this. Don't forget to work on my creativity because that fuels everything. And so for me, I'm super inspired by anything, whether it's, traveling the world, eating something, listening to music, meeting, hanging out with people, buying shoes, sneakerhead. So I'm very passionate about it.
So something that aligns very closely with creativity is flow.
Yeah.
And, most of the people who have put proper effort into studying flow, like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he's the guy who wrote the book on it, spent 30 years studying it.
Yeah.
He talks about things that need to be present for it to exist.
Totally.
You're losing yourself you're losing your sense of self-consciousness. You've got a goal that you're moving towards and if you're moving towards it.
Yeah.
How do you get yourself set up to experience flow in your creative pursuits?
For me, it's always about setting the right environment, right? So it's like, where people say they've got the best ideas in the shower or when they're walking, like, why? It's because you created this safe space for you to actually, like, the minute you try to force ideas, it becomes really hard.
Yeah.
But if you create the right space where, whether it be music or you've eaten well, you've rested, for me, I always regulate my nervous system. So, whether it's an ice bath, a sauna, I do a lot of meditation, breath work. It just allows me to sort of deal with a lot of stress and not let it affect me, so that I can create a space where I can still create.
I feel that sense of environment that you're talking about, and I can definitely feel the palpable sense of calm that you have. And when we first met, we were on a darts night, and then we went to dinner, so it was a fairly vibrant atmosphere. But I still remember having a conversation, and we were like within a meter or so of each other, and it was just this calm through the middle of all the noise. And I thought, man, I want to dive into combo with this guy more.
Korean barbecue.
Sorry?
Right? It was a Korean barbecue
Korean
spot.
barbecue in Melbourne. That was brilliant. I think that might have been your recommendation too.
I think it was Jono's, but I'll take the credit for it.
You're like, I've had my fair share of Korean. This place is all right. I think I remember you saying.
Yeah.
It's not always that we get to experience flow in our pursuits, especially as a founder. And, with the responsibility that you've got over all these lives, over all these employees, over the people that are wearing your product in the NBA and other places. And there's times when we just run into a brick wall, I suppose, in creativity and flow, and we want to put our heads in the sand a little bit. So if you ever find yourself in that state where it's the opposite of flow, you're in that kind of, I don't want to be here energy. What do you do to get yourself back out of that?
Work on the environment, right? Like, I think I've got a triangle that I've worked out. There's myself, relationships that I have, and wealth. And so all of these three are super important. And the minute you don't focus on one, it will draw attention to it. So, you can have a great personal life, but if you don't have your money right and you don't have your family, no one to share it with, it's going to go to shit. Same in the sense where if you're doing well and your family's doing well, but you don't have the money to support them, you're going to be some issues. If you're fit and healthy and you've got your money right, you've got nobody to share it with, that becomes a problem. Maybe not immediately, but it'll become a problem, right? Whether it's through, relationships are very important for human beings. So that triangle for me is I'm always locked in to going, where does my life sit at the moment in balance? What I've worked out is that you've got to start from yourself. They're all important, but you need to start with yourself, because that gives energy to everything else. Because otherwise, if you don't, it just ends up building resentment. And so if I ever get to that point, I'm just like, cool, all right, more ice baths, get into the gym, start training, meditate. Like I said, create a space for positivity to show itself and to have the passion and conviction to get back to the shit that I do best.
That's just such a epic little snippet there. And I know that so many of our listeners and viewers can grab that and use it. And I like the way it does have a balancing effect. Like, and I agree with you. I've seen versions of it that don't have as little as 3, but that makes sense, keeping things there. It's similar to what I talk about with biology, psychology, environment, like the optimal state to create, and that pulling yourself out and putting yourself in the ice bath where you're getting a natural kind of shock that your body is designed to deal with. Yeah. And then that brings you back into having a better headspace to actually go and move forward with.
Totally. That's the beauty about the ice bath is, when you think about meditating, the whole intention of meditating is to let the thoughts pass by with no judgment. It's not to have no thoughts, right? The beauty about an ice bath is you got no choice but to just, you're in shock. Yeah. And so all those thoughts just run through and by the time you get out, you haven't really thought about anything else. It just, you've become part of that moment. And so, I think that's really interesting for me, whether you can get to, well, it doesn't have to be an ice bath, but whatever it is that gets you to that point where you just accept where you are and you're living in the moment, that's what you need to do.
You've spoken about the role that family plays in your life and the happiness of the family. Being in business can often be a contrast to the priorities that family can bring up. Yeah. How are you dealing with that in one of the most intense times that you've got now with kids at the age 10 and 12, which are also going through pretty much the most intense conscious time of their lives, the teenage years, because it's the second most transformative time other than when they're born. How are you being there for them amongst the world of pressures that go on as a founder at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, so I travel a lot, right? But my family came on 3 trips with me this year alone. And so sharing them and bringing them into my world, I think is super important. Whether that be EO, I mean, they come to the EO retreat, so they know every time they hear EO, they're not like, oh, Dad's leaving again. Yeah, they actually know what it's all about. That's good. And so, I think bringing them on the journey so they can see what you're doing and why you're doing it, and not losing focus in why I did it. Like, I started this business to create a future for me and my family, and if that were to ever jeopardize that, I'd just sell the business. Right? Like, I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but it's not connected to the job, right? It's connected to, I just want to be creative. I want to have a source of financial stability, and I want the family to be super happy. And so for me, it's just, I'm really proud. The thing I'm most proud of is the business I've built with my family, right? Like, I used to joke around and say, when I used to introduce my wife and say she was my first wife, she no longer found it funny as we got older. But I think I get it. I get it now. Like, I'm so, I'm so happy that I built this business with the same woman and my kids. And my kids, they love me and I love them. And I know it might sound cheesy, but like, I do it for them. And like, it seriously brings me joy, because otherwise, I was very lucky to learn from someone else's mistakes early on in my career, where I saw that they didn't have that family to go back to, with a broken marriage, kids, and their relationship was extremely strained. And they were really great to me, because I was almost seen as that child, to them. At that, it was an incredible relationship that I had with them. But that's not what I wanted for my kids.
So this anti-role model that you're talking about, tell us more about that.
I wouldn't even call him an anti-role model. Like, I get why. I actually think he learned from his experience and therefore became a role model.
Well, what was the experience? Yeah.
I think it's his experience, so I won't talk too much about it. But I think that it allowed me to stay focused on, making sure I don't have, secret relationships and stuff like that. Because when you travel, it's super easy to. And there's no judgment for me or anyone else who does that. But I think that you've got to look at what does that create for you? What environment does that create? And like I said, once again, why are you doing it? Right? So if you can be honest, I think there's a lot of people that say they do it for the family, but then they spend all their time away and they don't spend any time with them. And so then you got to be honest with yourself. Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for them?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of founders do get kind of swept up a little bit in the story of. And it's not just founders, it's just people that get absorbed into the progress of their career. Yeah. Which, again, I don't have any judgment on either. Yeah. Like, when someone starts to experience the momentum that comes after they've overcome incredible inertia, only they know what that struggle was like. Totally. And when that struggle has been at the edge of their skills, there's an incredible sensation of reward and purpose and alignment that comes with it. And then you start getting lots of validation from around you that this is working out well, almost to the point where people on the periphery start almost advising partners and strong relationships, hey, you need to let this founder go. Totally. Because they are doing something incredible. Don't you dare get in the way. Have you found that?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you deal with it?
Look, I mean, because I travel so much and I meditate so much, I think I'm sort of I'm at peace with it. I only control the controllables. Yeah. Right? And so I try not to spend too much time stressing about things that I don't have control over. It was hard, though. I mean, I remember growing up, and when I started getting success, and I bought my first Porsche, people changed around me. Like, I got to the point where I was insecure to buy it at first, and I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm not. It's not the materialness of the Porsche, but it's what it represents, and the journey and the struggle is what I was proud of. And I was proud of the fact that I bought it, buying it, and going, I don't care what other people think. I'm doing this for myself. And that's a constant reminder to live in that moment, right? To be in that flow state, where it's like, oh, this is cool. For me, I'm a design guy. I love the design lines. I have no idea what engine it's got.
What is your Porsche? What
So
model?
no, that was my first Porsche. Now I've got one that I'm very pleased with, but I actually don't even know what. I've got a 911 now, and it's incredible. But I have no idea what size engine it's got. I don't care.
That's a true creative speaker right there.
I was looking at the Taycan earlier, and I hated the way that the buckets had double lines, and it was just like it was just doing my head in.
Yeah,
And so for me, like I said, that car represents me just living for myself, and not being caught up in all the shit, really, and also just living in the moment, right? I think it's very easy to, when you're looking to build something big, where you don't sort of celebrate the wins on the way. And I'm like, I don't want to be 60 years old and go, oh, now it's time to buy a Porsche and have a midlife crisis, right? I'm like, no, cool. Let me buy it now and I'll sell it tomorrow if I need to. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that I'm grateful for it, but I have no emotional connection towards it.
I love that also, the way that you're speaking about that. And this is coming from someone that's very self-aware. I'll say, self-actualized, and, the presence and the calm that you've got is something that a lot of people need to take a lot of time to practice to get to that point. I resonate with the Porsche story because I also had a goal like that. Yeah. And I hadn't found a supercar that I resonated with to the point where I wanted to own it. Yeah. I appreciated the Porsche 959 because it was around when I was a kid in the 90s, and that was just so far beyond. It was when Jordans were too expensive to even consider. Yeah. And then the Ferrari Testarossa around the same. But they're all those cars that fit on calendars,
Yeah.
But then
I don't even know what any of those are.
Yeah. They're just the 90s version of
cool.
the quintessential Ferrari and Porsche.
Right.
And I'm not that big on cars now either.
Yeah.
But I got a Panamera turbo. That was my
amazing
goal.
Love that car.
Yeah. So it was like a luxury saloon, V8 twin turbo, 4-wheel-drive, but all the luxury seats. And it had that 911 look, but it had 4 doors, and I had a kid on the way, and it was like a life goal.
Yeah.
And I was strategic about it because I know that luxury supercars kind of halve in the first 3 years, give or take.
Yep.
And I bought one that was just on 4 years old that had no Ks in every option. Yep. So I was basically barely run in, and I got it for half of the ticket price, which was still a lot. At the time, it was a 430 grand car online.
Yeah.
And I remember where I was living at the time, Newcastle, and someone reached out to me that I thought was just genuinely checking in. Turns out they were a gossip reporter.
Yeah.
And they threw me a furphy about someone else's car with a number plate that said MK. Right. And they're like, are you driving this black Ferrari? I'm like, no. Well, they're like, what's yours then? I'm like, it's the grey Panamera.
Right.
What type of Panamera? Oh, yeah, turbo. And they're like, oh, how'd you get that? It was just this nice little chat, and I was just blind to it. And then there was a front cover of the business section, which was only midweek. Yeah. But it got come and shoved in my face by team members who work for me. We don't need this shit out there. Yeah. People thinking you're making too much money. You need to tone it down. Now, this is people who work for me who don't anymore. Yeah. But I mean, that was all around me. And I felt pressure from that because I wanted to show an aspiration to team members that, hey, set a goal, go for it, be strategic as long as it matters to you. Yeah. Yet don't show off, because I even can't do that around here, and you're going to get your head shot off. Yeah. And I keep hearing this and I keep experiencing it. I don't know if I'm sort of tilted towards in a bias, but what's your view on tall poppy syndrome in Australia?
I mean, look, so I bought my first Porsche when I was in New York, and we bought a country house. And so I logically convinced myself it's a long drive. It makes sense to be in a comfortable car. And that's why I bought it. When I came back, and my dad was super supportive of, he was pretty much the only one, which I was really pleased by. And when I got it, that's when all the shit happened, when I started seeing, sort of relationships changing. And that's when I was really like, oh, okay, it's not but I don't get upset about it, because at the end of the day, it's a reflection of what they want in their lives. It's got nothing to do with me. And so, when I got the 911, for me, I looked at that and said, right, what message am I giving to my kids? And the message is actually, if you want something, go out and get it. Don't worry about what other people think. So to be honest, I don't really care. right? And tall poppy syndrome, it's certainly out there, but I think it's like when you buy a new car and you see it everywhere. It's like if you focus on that, you're going to see it. You're going to see examples of tall poppy syndrome everywhere. But if you don't focus on it, you know, it'll come in front of you every now and then, and you just move on. Don't attach anything to it.
I think that's a really great reminder for me, because I feel like I've probably distanced myself from it more than I used to feel it was around me. And part of that is the move to Melbourne.
Yep.
And that's not bagging out anyone from a regional city at all. It's just when you're in communities where you're crossing over each other a lot more, it does round the edges off diversity a bit.
Absolutely.
And I've got a friend in high fashion, and he's been in the rag trade for 40 plus years, international, does, you know, opera singers and gets flown all around the world, all the celebs, very under the radar, sort of like yourself. And he said when he's worked in regional cities before, and, you know, Newcastle, Geelong, Wollongong, places like that, that he notices people have a desire of what they want to wear. Yeah. And when he puts it on them, they're like, wow, you could see them. You can watch everything change. Like, this is me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yet they won't wear it out of the store.
Yeah, see, but like that's on them. Like, and I mean that with like love. And like, I lived in New York, right, for 2 years. And when I moved to New York, I remember telling my wife, damn, I got to go and update my wardrobe. And it wasn't to update my wardrobe in a terms of I need to compete. It was like, I can actually be myself completely. And so since coming back, I just kept that. That was something that served me. And I'm like, I'm going to keep that in my life. And so, you know, my pants that I got on today are absolutely wild and crazy, right? I don't give a shit.
I love those pants, actually. If I didn't comment on something else when we caught up, it would have been the pants.
Right, there you go, see? So it's like, I think it's just about what serves you, what gives you energy. And when going back into flow, like, does it give you energy or does it take energy? As simple as that.
Yeah, and I think there's a real lesson in that just in the deciding, if it's taking energy trying to impress someone else with what you think you need to be, just pause. Yeah. And just have a look at what's going to make me feel right now. Yeah. Well, what do I feel right with?
Yeah.
Because then the energy surge comes back again and you realize you've got a bit of a force field on.
Yeah.
I found it when I was first going into wearing glasses again. I started wearing these high contrast glasses, which are like the yellow ones that you usually wear when you're night driving. And they had a blue light filter. Now, I just wanted them for the fashion, in all honesty, but the contrast did help me, especially when I was like, you know, driving at sundown and stuff like that. I don't drive heaps. And then I started wearing them and people started commenting. And I think it's because I was more of me.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I love these glasses. And the kind of people that were commenting were interesting peering people that appeared interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like they'd be wearing stuff like you're wearing.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to people like that because they're also creative. I know it before I even talk to them. And I started realizing that I've been putting a cloth over my own torch, you know, so like people can still see light shining through, but it's not fully my light.
Yeah.
So what chance have I got of fully resonating with the people who are experiencing me?
Yeah. Totally.
And I can't even change what they're experiencing, but I can change how I'm shining.
Yeah.
And when I pull that cloth off and I'm just more of me, and now I am wearing a script in there anyway, and I've got all different colored lenses because I love the color. And I'm like you, I've just brought it into my life and I own the story of it. It's my own choice.
Yeah.
But it's just a quantum different experience.
Of course.
So I really like that. I think I've even just gained something off you in this little chat.
Oh, cool.
So even though we've been talking about short term and we've been talking about right now, where do you see Rollie in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years? Look, I try not to put a timeline on it other than I want to build a global brand. That I'm for sure of. And I do feel like I'm running out of time, right? So,
why so?
You know, I'm 41 now. I think I've got a good 10 years left in me to go really, really hard. And it's not to say that I will stop at that time frame, but I think that, you know, when I look at how old my kids will be at that point, my kid, you know, Hugo will be 22, India will be in the 20s, they'll be at a, you know, not at school anymore. I think I've got that time frame to really lock in. Because a global brand is not an easy feat, right? Like it's a big. And so I'm not talking about to be the best in Australia. I'm talking about global. So how do I build that? When you look at, brands like, Whitner just went under like a couple of weeks ago, right? That brand's been around for 100 years, right? You look at New Balance and Reebok and Nike, and all these brands have been, 50 years plus. So I think that what I'm trying to build is certainly not easy. And I think to sustain the energy that's required, I think 10 years is like, a really good amount of time to really get stuck into this. And I think recently being able to set that time frame has sort of helped, right?
Yeah.
To sort of go, okay, cool, it's game time now. Let's lock in. And because I think you look at tariffs and you look at, potential recessions, and you look at I feel like I'm starting the brand over again, like every couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. It's exhausting in terms of energy.
Yeah.
But I think, it's just staying locked in on global brand has definitely been nice.
I like it how clear that milestone is for you. It's sort of like it's a problem that has to be solved before you can move on.
Yeah.
I resonate with the feeling of time.
Yeah.
That it's not like you're not going to have time to do it while you're alive, touch wood.
Yeah.
It's more that like the will, the desire, the need, I suppose, with the way that your kids are maturing, the role you'll be playing in their life. And there's also this other thing, and I've talked to a number of founders about this. It's like when you're climbing, there's a necessity to what you're doing. And it's not just because you need to see your thing become successful. It's because you need to. You're so invested that if you stop now, then the expenses just overtake.
Of course.
Even though you're making a healthy margin, that you're in there and you're part of the machine, you're probably carrying the thing on your back.
Yeah, 100%.
But then you get to this point when there's a certain amount of assets, you might have 8 figures worth of assets. They're earning income of their own, even at 5% a year. You can imagine there's $1 million income coming off it. And there'd be a lot of people, including our former selves, that would look at this and going, there's an 8-figure ownership of something, and there's 5% of every 8 figures coming off it in income. And this is a dream come true. You couldn't have run a TV ad around this promotion before, and people would have gone, no, that's not true. There's got to be a catch. And then one finds themselves in a situation where they're there, and it's like, why am I continuing on this? Why do you think you're continuing to build this global brand?
Well, for me, it's around creativity. I want to have the creative freedom to be able to do whatever the fuck I want, right? And so I think at a global scale, that allows me to do that, right? If I can achieve global scalability, then I can work with the best athletes in the world. I can work with the best musicians of the world and co-collaborate with those artists. So that's what drives me every day. I think that's why I've been able to, work with all these brands, from Australia, from the Western suburbs, to be able to win a scholarship and design for all these guys. And it's because that's what drives me, right? And I very rarely even, when I meet people, you could meet me and know me for a year before I even tell you I was ever on a TV show. Right?
Yeah, you certainly didn't volunteer it up to me.
No. You went and did your research. So
I had to do a lot. You go, where'd you find that out? I'm like, there's fucking articles on this, bro. And you're like, I know.
And I know you're into basketball, and I hadn't mentioned I had designed for James Harden, right? So it's not something that I really drop unless it's really needed. And so, because what drives me is just doing awesome work. I want to do cool shit with cool people. And so I think, man, that's what I'm locked into. And I think beyond, once my kids get older, if I'm still doing it, I still have that crazy drive, it'll be for the creativity. It won't be for ego, right? I've toyed around the idea of, launching a luxury brand many times. It's like the one thing that has been eating at me. Do I really want a luxury brand? And every time I think about it, and I'm talking Fear of God, Jerry Lorenzo vibes.
Yeah.
Every time I go a bit deep, even sometimes I design product, I'm like, this is for ego. I don't need to do this. Rollie's making money. It's doing well. I want a global brand. I want creativity. I want collaboration. That vehicle can provide everything that I need. The luxury brand is just ego. All I want to do is shop those brands. So I'll just make enough money to go and buy a Jerry straight out the gate.
Yeah.
Right? Or collaborate with them would be even better.
That's incredible clarity to have that level of introspection and self-awareness to go, hang on, what's my motive?
Yeah.
And to hear that to call yourself out that this is an ego play and it's not a life purpose play.
Yeah.
I think that's really magic, and I think there's something in there for founders as well. I know I've had to do this recently. Like, I've still got standing offers on our group. We're in the real estate sector and we're unique in that we've got a scalable B2B back end.
Yeah.
We've got an independent brand with no scalability limits, and we've got an org chart that runs without any one individual.
Yeah.
It's unique in Australia.
Yeah.
I don't think my work's done because I want to spin the industry around to face the non-paying customer, the tenants and the buyers. And I kept looking at ways I could create that through other established businesses. And I kept coming back to, well, if I want to have true creativity, elbow room on my own wallet, that I'm making these investments, not trying to convince a committee like a political party has to do.
Yeah.
The place to do it is in my own sandbox, in my own company.
Absolutely.
And what better way to prove it than not be working in there every day, because I could be just making up for gaps that aren't there. I'm actually seeing the gaps and then building something for it. And I know that feeling of creation. It can be in so many different ways. So to hear that level of clarity you've got to be able to delineate, no, this is my purpose, but this is my ego. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I credit to the meditation, the time away, and just being able to stop and ask the hard questions. Like, I call myself out on my own bullshit, right? Like, you have to.
Well, I often say to myself, we've got to be careful that we're not smoking our own crack.
Yeah.
Because there is a big part of what we do that we have to rally the forces. We have to raise, we have to galvanize.
Yep.
But as part of that, sometimes we're pulling ourselves along into the story, but we realize that story can continue, but we don't have to be a subject in it.
Totally.
We can be the author.
Yeah.
So the question about the Rollie sort of evolution, because these shoes originally started with inspo from your now wife in the naming and the necessity for having it, of being light shoes you could travel with, right? You were in and out, I think at the time, UK a lot.
Yep.
And a lot of travel. I don't want to have heavy shoes in my luggage. Is that still the unique differentiation of Rollie, or has that evolved?
No, it's certainly, I think we've gotten to the core of why that was important, because, and this came through as I scaled, right? When you're smaller, you become the filter of every decision, and you can like nudge everything in the right direction. As you scale, particularly when I lived overseas, like we were considered like you said, a bit of a perfect shoe for traveling. But it wasn't the act of traveling that was important. So like I started seeing campaigns of like, oh, let's do this in the airport, or let's do this. Like, it is not the act of traveling, it's why you travel.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So you travel for creativity, you travel for diversity, you travel for be exposed to new food, culture, art, broadening your horizons, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, all those reasons. Not going through a fucking X-ray machine and sitting on the plane, 7B, right? But like, and so unless you communicate that vision clearly and effectively, people take what they want out of it. They hear travel brand, they hear the act of traveling, not the reason for travel, right? And so I think now we've definitely, that what was always important about the travel was not the act of traveling, but the diversity, the creativity, the community. That's why it's called Rollie Nation, not Rollie.
Yes.
So that essence now is at the core of what we do, which is around being super comfortable and creative and being in that flow state, essentially. So like I always say, it's not, the shoes are not important. It's what you do in the shoes that matter.
Nah, I like that. Is that somewhere on your website now, that statement?
It probably needs to be.
Wow. Like, we've got a video clip of when Vince said this out loud on a podcast. Man, that is potent.
Yeah. No, I tell the team that like often. I don't think, it might not actually be on the website, but that is like one of my core principles. Around the brand.
Well, there's brands that I follow and I'm part of based on who the founder represents, or based on what they represent as an organization. Or a book that's been written about what they probably mean. Like, I'm just a freak for Apple. Right? I just love that integrated, holistic, everything. I'm wearing Apple everywhere. It's epic. And it's just like every part of it, it just makes so much sense. It's, Steve Jobs' comment back when he was getting obsessed with like design of furniture. Yeah. Great design is less about how something looks and more about how it works.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, but it can be beautiful too.
Yeah, and should be. Yeah.
Well, Vince, like this has been a beautiful conversation. I've got to say, I've loved this wholeheartedly. It's definitely gone fast because I know my timers are all going off here.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to see and experience this this trajectory that Rollie undoubtedly is on to become a global brand with you at the center of it as a creative nucleus, and then the people around you just really united. And I can't wait to slide my first pair of Rollies on, because I think you've taken me from being an interested observer of those 17 screens to like wanting to wear the shoe, not just for how good the shoe is, but for what I can be doing in that shoe.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's what I'll do it all for.
Thanks very much for coming on Flow Zone, Vince.
Cheers, mate.